everyone. George DeSantis here with a look at the market for the week ending Friday, May 15th, 2020. And as usual, before we continue and take a look at stocks, let's bring up a disclaimer and urge you to read it and just realize that I'm not attempting to give any particular person investment advice here, since I couldn't possibly do that. And because also I'm not a licensed professional investment advisor, I simply do this for my own purposes. I'm a psychologist, and you can do with it what you will. But I'm just reviewing the market, the general market, and then taking a look at some individual stocks that I might be interested in trading in the coming week or two. And if you're inclined to do so, you can take a look at them and do your own research. So let's begin as we usually do with a weekly chart of the S&P 500. Some time ago I drew this channel, a couple of weeks ago I think, and you can see that price was trading between, the S&P was trading between this channel up until 2 weeks ago when it traded outside of it, and it actually closed right on the lower line of the channel. But last week it traded completely outside of the channel. It opened below it and it closed below it. So that's a bearish indication. The other thing that I've been looking at, and again, hey, this is just my opinion, is that this market seems to be, and so far as the S&P is concerned, seems to have been trading within the 50% retracement level and the 618 Fibonacci retracement level. These two lines here, you can see going all the way back 5 weeks now, been trading there. To me, that's not a good sign. And when we look at the daily chart, for the bulls anyway, when we look at the daily chart, you'll see that we made a double top. And again, a double top, many people will say, hey, watch out below. How far below? Well, we don't know, but somewhere below. So let's continue here. What we see is that parabolic is still bullish, still below the most recent bar, but it's approaching the bar. It's getting closer and closer to the most recent bar. As you can see, the distance here is getting shorter and shorter. So parabolic is still positive. We are also, as I pointed out last week, bumping up against the 30 weighted moving average, that green line, and the 50-day moving average. Well, actually, in this case, would be 50 period or 50 week. So you have that kind of resistance still operating here. Will we overcome it? Good question. Not, as I can tell, not anytime soon, not in a hurry. Let's go and take a look at some of the other indicators. The MACD histogram has been trending up, which is good. You always want to see MACD histogram trending up from below the zero line if you're bullish and you own stocks and you intend to buy stocks. But we're still in a bearish territory here. You can see the histogram is still red. Williams percentile, and I use the 30 period. If you use a shorter period, it'll be a little bit below, I think. Yes, below the 50 minus 50 line, that magenta line. But I use a 30 period, and I'll stick with that. So this indicator is telling us that we still have a bullish scenario here. I have this momentum indicator, which is now on the daily chart. You'll see it more clearly, but on the weekly chart, you can see that momentum has dropped, is tailing off. On the sum of the rate of change indicator, Jerry Appel's indicator, you can see a similar divergence here, okay? And in addition to that, you can see that the sum of the rate of change indicator has not gone back up above that 4% line since it crossed below it here. Since it crossed below it here when the market began that downturn, it hasn't gone back up. So we have a few conflicts here. We see that parabolic is below the most recent bar, indication the market is still bullish. And we have Williams percentile above that magenta line still. But the other indicators here are telling me watch out below. Let's turn to a daily chart. So here's a daily chart of the S&P 500. And the first thing, as you know, that I like to do is take a look at the moving averages. And one of my sell rules is on the daily chart, if the 4 EMA crosses below the 9, as it did here on Wednesday, that I take as a sell signal. Well, I'm not trading the index itself, but that tells me the market is turning a little more, somewhat more bearish. In any case, price remained below the 9 EMA, and the 4 remains below the 9. Now, the other thing that is indicating bearishness here is that parabolic is now, and it's been so for the last 3 trading days when we got that cross here. Parabolic is simply above the most recent bar. So it's saying we do have a downtrend here. Now I am using a different set of parameters for parabolic, so you need to note that if you're wondering if you have a parabolic with the different parameters. MACD turned negative here on Wednesday as well. You can see that bears began to control the market here, in other words. Williams percentile is still above that magenta line, so that's the aberration here as far as I'm concerned. The momentum indicator, you can see that divergence of momentum more clearly here. And you can also see it on the sum of the rate of change indicator. And in fact, sum of the rate of change crossed below the 4% line. So as far as I'm concerned, there's some conflicting data, some conflicting indicators here, but I am being more cautious than being aggressive. Let's put it that way. So let's take a look at some individual stocks or some other charts of the S&P first. And let's go to some charts from stockcharts.com. And we looked at many of these before. You can see this chart here is a chart of the new high, new low spread and or indicator. You can see that since we had that spike down, we are now in more bullish territory. This is music to the bull's ears. It's staying above that 50-day moving average and the 200-day moving average. These two here. Let's take a look at something else. Insofar as S&P is concerned, on a daily chart, you can see that we now have a blue bar. That's the impulse indicator, so we can go either long or short, which is sort of like what we were seeing on the charts, because there's a real struggle going on here between bulls and bears. But MACD is trending down, you see. And anyway, let's go to the next one. This is the S&P, same chart. The next one is the percentage of stocks in the S&P 100 above their 200-day moving average. You can see it's stalled here. We need to see this get above the 50 right here, above that 50% level here, for us to have a resumption of a real strong bull market. And we're not there yet. Let's see. This is the same chart. Let's take a look now. Let's turn to the Shaken Analytics charts. So we turn to Shaken Analytics software, and I'm going to show you the sector ETFs that are best performing to the worst performing from top to bottom. The first one up here is QQQ, or I use the leverage one, the TQQQ. And let me just drag the other chart across, TC2000, to show you that my buy signal is when this sum of the rate of change indicator crosses above the 4% line, and sell signal when it crosses back below it. So it's still above it. So there is no sell signal here yet on the Qs, okay? Now, on here, you could see that the Qs were oversold. They went up a little. The NASDAQ was oversold, went up a little, and is now retracing back down. Now, the other four that are bullish, the other three rather, that are bullish, which is ones that I own, is XLC, XLK, and XLV. So I like to own the top performing ones at any one time, and especially what I'm seeing here on Shaken, okay? Okay. Now, since I'm doing more trading and not buying and holding for a long term at this time, let's look at the stocks for the lockdown that I've created some time ago. And what I did is I sorted them out for stocks that are oversold because I want to buy stocks that are bullish, especially or even maybe neutral, but I want to buy stocks that are oversold or they look pretty oversold anyway. So Akamai is one, and you can see here that it was oversold. It went into neutral territory, but it certainly isn't overbought. So that's one I would consider. Another one is Dropbox, this one here. And you see similar kind of thing. It became somewhat oversold. Now it's not quite overbought, so that's a candidate. Citrix, you could see, became overbought, quite overbought, and so it started trending down. And even though it was up a little bit on Friday, the next one that I have here is Teladoc. Teladoc was somewhat oversold and is still moving up. Okay, still going up, and it's now turned bullish. It now has from a neutral to a bullish rating. You see, it went from yellow to green, and all these other indicators look pretty good. So it's Teladoc still looks good, and let's see, Tesla. Tesla, interesting. Tesla became oversold. They came out with decent earnings here, as you know, and it became they beat the earnings by 135, $1.35, became oversold and is trending up again. So if you own Tesla, that should warm your heart. Now, if you look at CNBC at all, you notice that Jim Cramer created an index of stocks that he thought should perform well in these market conditions. So I look for the ones that are oversold, and I'm going to go through them very quickly. AbbVie, you see, is overbought now, but CNC is one that is oversold and moving up. I'm just going to go through these. Perigo is oversold. It's a little early to buy it, but you see money flow signal, the buy signal here. Um, let's see where we now. Now gold, you can see it's oversold and ticking up. Pfizer is another one that's oversold, I believe. Yes, Pfizer is oversold, ticking up. I'm just identifying. We saw Teladoc before. Viva is another one, I believe. Yes, Viva. Baxter, I believe Baxter is also oversold and ticking up. So you can take note of these and do your own research and see if you're interested. SNY, Sanofi. Sanofi similarly oversold. Amazon is oversold. I'm going to go through these pretty quickly so we don't run out of time. CAG, which is what? Conagra Brands, food, oversold and ticking up. Now I like this one, J&J. Where is J&J? Here's J&J. I like this one. You see how nice it looks here? It's oversold and it's ticking up. Got a nice move here on Friday. Lilly also looks pretty good. Eli Lilly. It was oversold and it's ticking up. Spotify, where's Spotify? Here's Spotify, similar kind of thing. It's now in neutral territory. Some of the move is already there. BDX, where's BDX? Hold on. There's BDX. You can see it was oversold and it's ticking up. Okay, and you can see money flow signal here. Buy signal on not on money flow, on relative strength. Next one we have is Beyond Meat, and I never owned this one, but it's changed its personality. See, it went from negative to positive here, and apparently they came out with pretty good earnings. Now here's a stock. It's not on this list, but it was mentioned in an article by Stock Charts. And you can see, I like the way this money flow has increased so much. It's changed its personality, and it's now bullish. Folks, that's all we got. We're running out of time. Gotta go. I hope you had a good weekend.